I had no reason to beat him. Like, I shouldn't have won that match. And I walked off the mat and I'm just like, thank you. Like, God, my dad, like, he was there. I know it. Like, I have no doubt in my mind.
Welcome to the Big Fish Cares podcast. And here's your host, Benny Fisher.
This Big Fish Cares podcast is super special for a couple different reasons. First of all, we got All-Americans in the room. We got a national champion in the room. I have my brother-in-law in the room. Like, this is like the first podcast I think I've ever done with a family member, because most of my family is like scared to like come on, right? Like, and even your family is probably scared to come on. So like, you know, we got the outgoing ones ready to go. That's right. So I'm joined by Micky Phillippi and Nino Bonaccorsi. They recently have just done some amazing things with their wrestling careers at Pitt. I'm going to kind of go over some of their accolades. They got so many of the list. I'm just going to do the big ones. Micky is a two-time ACC champion, NCAA All-American, NCAA qualifier for 4 years, Pitt Male Athlete of the Year. Nino, very similar, three-time All-ACC academic team, three-time ACC champion, 2023 ACC Wrestling Scholar Athlete of the Year, All-American, and just recently crowned the 2023 NCAA championship in the 197 weight class. Yep. You guys, you're like 133, so there's a little size difference.
Yeah, I still beat him up though.
Yeah. So what I want to do, because this is really exciting, and you're from Bethel Park, right? Park, so let's talk about that. So you live in Bethel Park. We're shooting live today in Bethel Park. That's where the Big Fish Contracting Studios are, Big Fish Cares podcast. So Nino's a Bethel Park guy. Micky grew up in Derry, Latrobe area, Pennsylvania, right? A lot of rich sports history out here in Western PA. Let's go with Nino's, your background, your story, kind of growing up as a kid and how you got into wrestling.
Yeah, so I got into wrestling very young, almost so young that I don't really remember a time where I wasn't wrestling. But, you know, my dad kind of got my family wrestled like a little bit, but my dad got my brother into it. And obviously my brother's 6 years older than me. So wherever he was going, I was following in a baby stroller or whatever. So it was just like it kind of consumed our life, and like our whole life growing up was based around wrestling and how we can get better, going to practices, tournaments on the weekends and stuff. And my brother eventually would go on to go to Pitt, and then just going to those matches and everything, the Pitt matches, and being close to home. Like, I'm a homebody. Yeah. So so I just basically, you know, followed in his steps and went to Pitt as well. And I loved it. It was a second home for me, but it's like, it's also, on the other hand, it really wasn't like I was going to Pitt. Like, I've been at Pitt like my whole life. So it didn't feel like it was like a big step in my like, oh, now I'm all the way to Pittsburgh. It's like I've been going down the matches. Yeah,
it was just like, it's like almost like going to high school, right? It's just like, oh, this is just what I do next.
Yeah, this is just
like, you didn't really have a choice, right?
Sort of, yeah. You don't really
I know you had a choice probably, because I'm sure you probably had a lot of colleges recruiting you.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
But like at the end of the day, like you grew up in Bethel, your brother went to Pitt.
Yeah.
Like I always just like assumed that you were going to Pitt, right?
Sort of. I think a lot of people assumed I was going to Pitt, and like I knew I was kind of basically going to Pitt. So my dad was at Clarion for a little bit, and then he transferred to Pitt and wrestled there for a little bit. You just made
it act like your dad, though, wasn't really that big into wrestling.
Well, like, no, he was.
He was like, if he wrestled in college,
I guess you're right. Yeah,
like, that's like a big deal.
Yeah, I guess he was. Yeah.
But you just grew up with it. It was like, it's like in the blood.
It's in the blood. Yeah.
What? So did you play any other sports?
Yeah, so I grew up, I played a lot of sports, because as a kid, I was pretty crazy as a kid. I was kind of bad too.
What does that mean? Like, what was the worst thing you ever did as a kid?
I had to go.
This is the Be Authentic podcast.
Yeah,
so just get it out now.
So I had to go to this like almost like a juvie like trial thing, because I got in like a fight with this kid growing up. And,
did you win?
Of course.
Of course. Yeah, all right.
Threw the kid through a trophy.
Yeah, this kid. It was like I threw this. It was a mess.
How old were you?
I was probably in like 4th, 5th grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like 9 or 10 years old.
So I had to like speak in front of like our Bethel magistrate, and they're like, you can't do that.
It wasn't Arnone back then, probably, right?
I think it was.
Was it Arnone? Was he that?
Then.
Yeah. Well, I guess I keep forgetting you guys are so young.
Yeah.
I love Judge Arnone. I got to get him in here. I'm actually friends with him. We golf together. We hang out together.
So yeah. So I was bad, and I would get reprimanded by my teachers a lot. I was pretty bad. Like, I wasn't bad like I'm like breaking stuff and stealing things. Just like I was more of like a knucklehead, and I would
Gotcha.
I was
Like a meathead.
So yeah,
Like a typical
I guess
jock.
you could say that. Yeah.
All right.
But like so I was like had a lot of energy as a kid, obviously, and so I played like football, baseball, soccer a little bit. Then I kind of transitioned from like just wrestling and football, and I loved football, but it was up until like 7th grade that I was like, I kind of gotta feel like I want to pick like an individual sport. Like I gotta like kind of. I knew I was always gonna wrestle, but I did like football, so it was kind of hard to just like.
You like the team aspect
Yeah,
of kind of
it's
play on
just
the
fun.
field with
Yeah,
more people,
it's
right? Because
fun.
wrestling is really so individual. I mean, I know you have a team, you got some boys that are doing it, but it's like one-on-one all the time.
It's nice to like have like a game and it's not all like on you.
Yeah,
Whereas wrestling, it's like if you're on, you're on, but if you're off a little bit, it's all you.
They say the Kentucky Derby, which just happens like the fastest 2 minutes in sports. I feel like I've been to your guys' wrestling matches, and it's like shoot, you could like go to the concession stand, come back, and it'd be over.
long.
Right?
Yeah,
so like 3, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 6 minutes, it's gone, right?
Right. So it was. So I love football, but then I decided I'm like, I think I'm just gonna wrestle, and it was kind of like not a big decision, but that summer I ended up winning. Middle school Super 32, which was like this like national tournament in middle school.
Okay.
So I was like, I think I made a good choice, and so it was just a lot of practices, a lot of traveling. Like my dad took me a lot of places growing up, and I owe him everything because he sacrificed a lot of his time. I mean, he's a landscaper, so he works every day, long hours, and so for him to spend all his money and all his time traveling with me, it just kind of makes all those moments growing up, like all those, times we went to practice and everything, it kind of made it all worth it in the end to kind of like finally get that goal we've been always wanting, so it's that's what makes it like really special to me because of the growing up I had, we always wrestled. So it was like, we really did almost like put all our eggs in like a basket. Like, we want to be the best.
You went all in.
So we went
committed.
all in.
You made a commitment. There's a lot of kids right now, and even adults that don't commit, and they always wonder why they don't get the results.
Right. So I mean, it feels good because growing up in high school and just I sacrificed a lot of like, I wasn't very like one to go out and be like super social. I wouldn't go to like a lot of parties. I wouldn't do sleepovers.
Well, you can't drink or eat because you gotta make weight.
Yeah, exactly. You sacrifice food. Yeah. So it was just
no pizza parties for you.
Yeah, exactly. And people would and parents would like get like, they're like, why? Let them come over eat a pizza. I'm like, I gotta make weight tomorrow. So it was just at the time you don't know because it's like it's fun. It's like this is like what I do. But looking back, I'm like, dang, that was kind of tough. But it was all. I loved it. So
what was the biggest thing that you remember? Like, what was the hardest thing or the biggest piece of adversity that you and your family had to go through, like coming up through the ranks and like that you remember?
Yeah. Well, I think 2 that come to mind. I'll give you like an older one and one more recently. So the older one, we would go to Pit Bull. There was this club me and Micky would go to. It was coached by Sonny Abe. He was the national champ. He was a Japan Olympian. He helped coach our head coach now, Keith Gavin. So he was my coach growing up. But he would have these practices that were just like very brutal. They were just hard. And he would have these like 4-day long camps, and it was just like nonstop wrestling. So those were like things I was like, if you can get through that, you could be like, okay. Because they were like, I mean, Micky could attest.
Hard.
They were very difficult.
Like 5 2-a-days in one day, like for like comparable to football practice.
You hear about like 2 days in football, like multiply that by like 10 because he would like he'd like abuse us. I mean, not in a way like it made us better, but like he would like, for instance, we'd like run this sprint thing, and he'd be like, he'd look at his wrist, which he didn't even like have a watch. Yeah. And he'd be like, you're like 0.1 off. Yeah.
He'd be like, you have to get under 11, and he'd be like, 11.1. You're like, you're not even wearing a watch.
20 minutes later, you're like, dude, like I'm drenched with sweat. I'm dead.
And it didn't help that like it wasn't even like the practice was hard, but your partners. At the time, it was like one
Vincenzo
of the best clubs.
Josephs.
Yanni Mahalis would come. The 4-time would come like to these summer camps.
Yeah.
And Micky, it was just like these guys that were there were just made it so brutal. So I guess it wouldn't be like if it was like an adversity thing.
Well, what about, so like, right, you obviously muscled through everything. You're a national champion.
Yeah.
What about like the family dynamic though? And like, were you always able to go to all these camps? Were you always able to do everything? Did your dad ever have to tell you, hey man, like we ain't got enough, like we can't do it, right?
No,
or did he just figure, or did he always figure it out? Like was there ever fighting back behind the scenes?
No, he if anyone was fighting not to go, it was probably me a little bit.
You're like, I don't want no more pain.
I feel a little sick today. I don't know. I faked being sick a couple times and I get out of it. But fortunately enough, sometimes it would get a little expensive and the travel was a lot. But fortunately at Pitbull, we had a lot of people there who supported us, and Sonny would often sometimes like, we just want you to come, so we wouldn't have to pay that much.
So they figured it out, right?
Yeah, we figured it out. So as far as adversity, just kind of getting through just those tough times, it's just like going to practice consistently every day. But looking back, that was like a building block for me. It was like I learned how to work hard, and I learned like how to get through these practice day after day. Like it was just like kind of molded me into like my work ethic and how I wrestle today. And a more recent one, the adversity I probably faced the most was last year in nationals, because I was coming off a high of making the national finals. I lost, but it was also like I made the finals. So I was like happy. I finally cracked through. Made a U23 world team, so I was like feeling good. Then the next year I got bumped off the podium, so I didn't place. And it was tough because it's tough in general because that's your whole goal for the year to place. But after coming off of like you expect yourself to do so good, and you don't do it, it's like it's very kind of devastating. So it was hard, and this whole summer was very like difficult. Not really for my family. It wasn't like a butting heads thing. It was just like a figuring out like what to do next. Like how can we?
Was it like unspoken? Like everyone's kind of quiet, like, oh, where's your head at? Like you're kind of like in your own head a little bit.
Yeah, because they know how much it means. Like, I mean, it's not
but
like,
everybody's afraid to talk to you about it because nobody wants to make you feel worse.
Well, I talked about you put your marbles on, so I'm at like you put everything into this, and it doesn't happen. So you're like, what do we do?
But you still had another year to go.
And another year.
You guys been wrestling, like, I feel like, how many years in college were you?
Like I was 6.
Not as long as this guy. Supposed to be 4-year program, everybody. These guys like somehow figured it out.
I feel like, was that maybe Tommy Boy? It's like not everyone goes to school for 7 years.
Exactly. But yeah. But not to keep rambling. But
no, you're doing great. How did you get through last summer? Like what did you decide? Like what in your mind said like, all right, what do you have to do different to get to the podium?
Well, for one, God, hell, I really found like my faith. Like I was always religious and spiritual, but this year was really like a time where I felt like he almost like pulled me out of like a dark time in my life. Not dark in other instances, dark in the aspect of like your sport, and it's your lifelong goal. And really just kind of that in my mindset of like how I viewed wrestling, right? So my whole life I viewed wrestling as like, you have to win, you have to achieve this. It was all accolade based, right? Because obviously you want to win everything you do. But it took me, some high wins and some low losses to find like, I like this sport because of like everything else. I like the training. I like
what goes in.
Right. I like being with my best friends when I do this stuff. I like going to the tournament, feeling like that jitter, wrestling someone who also wants to take it from you.
Yeah.
So it's just like I just learned to just love like that everything about the sport.
The process.
And I valued it. And in a way, I stopped. Not that I ever feared losing, but I stopped caring about like losing, and I stopped caring about winning. I was more cared about like what I can do, like how I'm going to give all I have on the mat. And that's what I'm proud of. I'm proud of everything I put into the sport. I'm proud of how I competed. I'm not worried about.
Well, the wins and the losses are just a result of like,
right. And it's like that stuff's like out of your control, right? It's like it's in God's hands. Like no, regardless of how hard I work, the outcome's kind of already set.
How old are you?
24.
24 years old. He already has this instilled in him. So like most people that go their whole life and they don't even understand anything what you're talking about right now.
Yeah. So
you have that right now, 24 years old to where, because we talk about it in business a lot.
Yeah.
Of like, it's not how many sales you have. It's about the work that you do, the training, the education, the constant at-bats.
Right. Yeah.
To like input, then the result will come, right?
Right.
Like,
so I always say, when everything's wrestling, I might compete a little bit here and there, but when I'm 20 years and I look back on my career, I'm obviously going to be proud of the stuff I done and the accomplishments I had. But I could have very well went to this tournament and lost. You know? But I'd be at peace with that because I could look back on my career and say, I'm happy and I'm at peace because I know I gave everything I had. My work ethic, I did the right things. When you look back, that's what you're going to be most proudest of, I think. And I think that mindset and just that spiritual faith I had, and it just like propelled me to wrestle great and, you know, have success. And yeah, but along that, it just helped my life. Like you said, I think it's something that you could apply to your life, which is what I'm very grateful for.
Well, you're going to put that kind of work ethic and that kind of process, no matter what you do, whether you know, I know you may have dreams to like be a wrestling coach. Yeah, right. But let's just say you get into the business world. Or let's just say, hey, maybe you help your dad with landscaping business. Whatever it is, you're just going to go in every single day, give it your best, right? And then know that, hey, the results are going to come one way or the other. Those are just to kind of like, you know, that's the output. The input's what matters most. Right. Exactly. And then when you talked about the God thing, I think that's really cool to talk about because a lot of people don't acknowledge that. No. And you mentioned religion, but then you also kind of said like you got closer to God this year. So I feel like what's the difference between being religious and then also having a relationship? Because it sounds like you found the relationship this past year. And I want to talk about that for a minute. Yeah,
I think when you're religious, and I don't want to speak for it because everyone's
just talk for yourself.
Everyone's kind of on their yourself. Yeah. I feel like religion sometimes is people say they are religious and follow God, right? But I think sometimes we don't always like apply that. You say that, but sometimes your actions don't really show it. And it's like you have like a one-way relationship with God almost. Like you're like, I pray for this. I want this thing. Like it's very. It feels like one way.
Well, it's like me when I watch golf. Oh yeah, I like watching golf. Oh yeah, I'm a golfer. Right. But I'm not Tiger Woods. Right. Like, I'm not putting the work in every day to form that type of thing. It's the same thing with wrestling, right? You have to work at a relationship. I feel like not work, but like you have to kind of consistently put in like that acknowledgement, right? Like and like be top of mind, right? It's not just a thing that we do on Sunday, right? Or Saturday, or it's not like, oh, I have a Bible that just sits over here, right? Like it's like putting the time in with it, right?
So it's like it's very like almost you're it feels one way sometimes. You're doing things because you think it's the right thing to do, but I felt like I gained my relationship because I learned that everything I have is because of him, and it's more like all what I'm set out to do is share his love. Like it's more like, so when I win nationals, it's because of him. It's not like, hey, this is all me. Like I did this. You're giving glory to him. And I just found like all these times in my life where, you know, really he gave me this. I should be, you know, he allowed me to feel this so I can do something else. He took me down these roads. He made me meet all these people. It's all glory to him. Right. Yeah. And I almost feel like it's so grateful because I did feel like with that different perspective and the stuff I was doing, he was like, this is like a story I told my family, and it's hard to explain, but it's almost like so I'm actually giving a testimony at this church in Swickley about like kind of my whole story. So you can go there if you want a little more in depth there, but I just felt like he kind of was working through me. I felt like he had a plan for me this whole time. Since I was little, like these ups and downs, this plan for me to get to this point where I have this platform now and I can share what he did. Like, I feel like his plan was to like, you know, he's helping me along the way, but he's also giving me the platform to speak of like what he's done for me and how I can like attribute like my successes to him. So like in a lot of like this year, like when I would, obviously you're happy and I would like, you know, do this, but I would like, it's not me, it's him. So that was kind of my relationship. Like I grew with him. It was very, instead of it being like one way, like doing what I think's right, it's more like, you know, I'm doing what he wants me to do. I'm following his plan.
That's so good that you be able to find that at such a young age, man. Because like, and you don't even know my whole story, and we can talk later about that. But like, you know, now I have this platform, right? And I love to share stories like that. You probably didn't even know that, and now you got to share your story on this platform, and it's just going to keep building, right?
I love that.
You're going to meet more and more people that, you know, we're on our own journeys, right? And like sometimes then when two people connect, right, and new relationships form. and then stuff
People
happens.
say, yeah.
Well, let's talk about that. When did you meet this knucklehead over here?
Jeez.
Oh man, I met Micky. So
Because see what I mean? So like you guys met, and the only reason I know you really, well, it's kind of two part. I really know you because of him,
Right.
But then also like your family lives in Bethel. I think your brother bought a roof off of us one time, but I didn't really know who you were until I started going to wrestling matches.
Right.
So it's just like weird how like the connections happen. God has a funny way of doing
it's like
things.
like you meet, then I meet you, then I have this then we share. It's just fun. It's just if you think about it, it's crazy. It's just.
And I'm going to speak at
stuff.
VCon next week with Gary V, and like
awesome,
you know, like and there's like all kinds of It's just like it just keeps happening. So how did you guys meet? When did you guys first meet?
Nino and I go really far back. Like I'm talking like just learning
how
how to
old?
wrestle. I don't
How
know.
old? When did you guys
Started
first
wrestling
meet?
for in like second grade, maybe. I don't know.
Oh wow!
Like, that
Like
might
you
be-
saw him, but when did you guys actually start to be like? When did you guys
well, we
like talk?
became better friends in college, but we would go to Pitbull together. So like we'd wrestle at practice.
How old were you?
The whole way.
They probably met.
You gotta remember,
like,
a lot of my listeners don't know what Pitbull is.
So
So
Pitbull is a wrestling club which is in the area, but Nino also. We wrestled at tournaments, like local tournaments, and Nino always tells this funny story. I always looked at him and was like, this dude's a beast. Like, I would step out. I'm like, I know him
he's always bigger. He's probably always been bigger than you.
No, actually,
funny
I was
enough.
bigger than him.
He was bigger
I have
than
a
me.
I
picture
feel like
to
you've
show
been
you.
this size your whole life.
I was bigger than him at one point, but we were the same size, and we wrestled. And I remember Nino beat me every time we were little. He really did. But we wrestled at a tournament. He actually has a funny story because I didn't know who he was. I was very ignorant to who people were at tournaments. I just went out and wrestled. But go ahead.
So like we were at this Kiski area wrestling tournament. It was like a youth tournament. We were probably like 7, 8.
Yeah, we were young.
7, 8 years old, and you go to these tournaments and you don't know who's in your bracket. Usually it's like local Whitfield, Pittsburgh guys, but you never know. So we go, and then they post the brackets on the wall before the tournament starts.
And you walk up to the wall and you're like, oh crap, I have
so and so or whatever.
whoever on my side.
John,
you know?
John
Smith.
Joe Smith.
Some random names,
Right.
Another little knucklehead kid, or
Right.
a
You
punk
don't
kid
know.
with a little headset on.
Yeah,
and,
you have no idea. So
If he's got cauliflower, you're like, oh, I'm scared. Man, he's already got the cauliflower here.
that used to be like if someone had like a
If they had D-pads, you're
If
like,
he had ringworm, you know he's practicing way too much.
Yeah, right. Well, I had this buddy who was also at our weight, but like I
He was tough.
saw him at tournaments, so I kind of like got to know him a little bit. So I go up, and my first match, I'm like, George Phillippi. And he's like, do you know who that is? I'm like, no. He's
They
like,
put your real name down all the time?
back then. Now never.
yeah. So we turn her. I turn her. He's like, he points him out, and there's Micky with like different colored shoes, long like wavy hair, and Micky's like warming up, and this kid goes, you got Micky Phillippi? I'm like, yeah. He's like, he's a man. I'm like, oh.
70, you know.
He's 70. He's like a man. And I'm like, oh, man, I got a tough match for you. And so then we just like.
You got a kid from the sticks, man. You're from Bethel Park, dude. He's out in the country,
he's like,
man.
He's like pulling tractors.
That's right. I had a tractor attached to me, just walking it down the
So that's how I
So that was the first thing. So let's talk about your journey, man. What was, because I mean, you grew up in a whole different place, even about an hour east, Tell
It's
us
weird
about
though,
your
'cause
journey.
We did see each other a lot, although we were far.
But you have different stories, though,
yeah,
right? You have a
for-
different background. I know a lot about your background, but I want you to tell it.
Yeah. So my wrestling story is a little different. My family didn't grow up in it. It wasn't like a bloodline thing, like Nino's family goes way back. I was the first. So I remember asking my dad to wrestle. My dad's like,
how old?
Probably like 7. I don't know, maybe younger. Like similar to him, where it's like I don't really ever remember not wrestling.
But why did you want to wrestle? Was there some other kid that was wrestling and that you
I
wanted to be
honestly
like?
just wanted to like beat people up. Yeah.
Okay.
Like I'm like the kid. I was also very energetic, and I'm like, yeah, I want to beat people up, And then my sister Brittany too. She would be like, she thought it was like cool, and like if she thinks it's cool,
Yeah. Because she's what, like 5 years older, 3 years older, 4 years older than you?
Yeah, she was a senior and I was 8th grade. It's like 5 years older.
Yeah, okay.
But I was like, so that's cool. So she thinks it's cool, I think it's cool, So and my brothers too, like they were like, yeah, you should do it. So I'm like, I'll do it, and I went, and the rest is history. My dad went from like wanting me to play basketball, like he'd take me to the basketball court right beside our house all the time, make me shoot, and I'm like, I just don't have it.
And your dad didn't know anything about wrestling, right? Like
he's pretty good at basketball though. Like he'd be like telling me about it's like airtime, like jumping up.
Yeah, but he didn't play college wrestling like his dad, right? So like, what was life like when you were 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12?
So he pushed me, he took me to these practices and immediately fell in love with it. I started going to clubs. Western PA is insane about wrestling. Like, if you aren't doing extra practices, you aren't keeping up. And I'm talking like multiple workouts a day usually. So, but my dad got a little crazy with it, pushed me. He's like, taking me to, I said this in my speech at our senior thing. He'd take me to Keystone, which was a park near our state park. And there's a little beach area. And he's like, you're going to run in the sand. And I would just run in the sand, fast feet.
Like Karate Kid type stuff, like Mr. Miyagi stuff.
And he's like thinking this is like, this is going to definitely make him the best wrestler. And I'm like running in the sand. People are looking at me. I'm like, this is embarrassing. But it like really did teach me some things, because like I would do those hard things and be embarrassed about it. But then, like fast forward, right? I'm not the best wrestler. I was good at a young age, but I wasn't the best. Like Nino was really good. Nino didn't put the fact out there. He won states when he was in youth. You did. He was a state champ. Like he was a beast. And I was okay. I was good, but I was like not to the level I was. And then, fast forward 8th grade, my dad passes away, which you knew that. He knows that. But it's like, from there, it was like, now it's on me. And I was pushed from my dad from a young age, but not in a bad way. I think people take that term pushing.
Yeah, well,
like
describe that. Like, describe what that was like, because the people at home, because everyone's got a different definition. Talk about some of the different things that you guys did, you and your dad did.
Yeah, it was like,
because you didn't have that much time with your dad.
No, I didn't. And it was a relationship thing. Like it for us, like it was like going to practice was like our thing, right? Like driving, like he said, driving to practice with your dad. It's like you and your dad in the car and those conversations you have, and like he would drive me. Like we didn't have a lot. Like we really didn't.
Talk
like,
about that a little bit.
We couldn't afford,
because I know that story.
Yeah, like we really couldn't afford to go to these practices. There was really no way. Like my dad was going to. There was a wrestling club All-American, which was closer to me, closer than Pitbull. I started going to Pitbull a little bit later, but and my dad would like work for Coach Waller, who that's an old name for anyone watching. Like they'll know who he is, but. He would like work for him so that I could go to practice. He would go there, split firewood, like do all these things to make sure I could go to practice. And like he'd be like scrounging together the money to make sure I could go to practice. And it was like, all jokes aside, like to get real deep, like there was like a time where like the heat would turn off in the house, but like my dad would make sure I could go to practice, which is insane. And I don't know, maybe you got to get your priorities straight sometimes, but it really instilled,
look where you're at, man.
Exactly. It instilled some things in me, like he taught me that like I said, it was like the hard things that you have to do in order to be successful that we talked about. Like you have to be so focused and be able to do the things that no one else wants to do in order to be that person. And like, I wasn't there, and it took a very long time, but like he always like would say to me, like you're gonna be there. Like he was so confident in the fact that I would be there, and I'm like, I was confident, but like wrestling is such a hard sport. Like it's not like I was good at football, I was good at baseball. I was always like, backyard football king. Like I never wanted to lose.
Yeah, I played a couple turkey bowls with you.
Exactly. I'm not. I didn't.
You're like a deer, man, because you can just run out there and get ahead of everybody.
Exactly. And it's like those I picked up easy. In wrestling, I did pick it up, but it's so individualized, and everyone in PA wants to be good, and everyone in PA, like if you weren't winning 2-3 state titles, like you weren't good. Like it was legit that bad. Like my wife to this day will be recruiting someone to Pitt, and she's just so ignorant to it. And I'll be like, he's a state champ, and she'll be like, how many times? And I'm like, he's a state champ. Like he won it. Like not everyone goes to high school and wins 3 state titles.
Yeah, but when you live in Ohio and Pennsylvania, that's all that matters.
Exactly.
Like I feel like wrestling's almost bigger than football, which is like really hard to like, because most people don't follow wrestling, so like they don't understand it. But like I had a bunch of friends in Ohio that were wrestlers, and it was like big, and football was big, and I came to Pittsburgh, and I'm like, wow, football's big, but wrestling's big too. Like it's like they both have so much pressure.
Yeah,
but I want to go back to this childhood thing, because I know that you went through some stuff, right? Like I know.
Yeah.
Well, give me like a story that you have that like has maybe nothing to do with wrestling, that kind of shows the kind of like just grit and determination that like, you've come from.
Yeah. So okay. So there's so many stories.
Give me one that you're willing to share that's like really tough.
So I'll give you, it's a little bit of a longer story.
That's all right. We got time.
So in 8th grade, that was when my dad passed away. So that winter, I said about the heat getting turned off. We were in our house, And I remember the furnace went off, and I woke up at night and I was cold. Like I was like, pulling blankets over me. And I walked downstairs. My dad's in the basement, like scrounging around, like trying to get this thing to kick on. like beating the crap out of the furnace. Like funny story. Like it's like funny to look back at. But he's like, why is this thing not turned on? Well, he's like to me, he's like, I'm gonna have to take you to your mom's tonight. Which like I love my mom now, but then it was like I did not want to go to my mom's. Like that was the last place I wanted to go. He's like, you have to go to your mom's tonight. It's gonna be cold, like, and you have a tournament tomorrow, so like you have to stay there tonight. I'm like, okay. So I go there, I spend the night, right, and a day turns into like a month, right, because the furnace is not on. It's like in
the middle of winter.
Yeah, and my dad's like, trying to get his stuff together, trying to get it sorted out, and it just never really happened. Well, my mom's house was nicer too. Don't get me wrong, like it was, because a little bit just of a different thing going on there, but it was a little bit nicer, and I was there, but I hated her husband, like hated him, absolutely hated him. He was not the best person, but the house was nice, and like I got a lot of new things, and like
you got like stuff, like you got cool, material right? things.
So like a week turns into a month, and a month turns into another month, and then like it's spring, and I'm working really hard. My dad still took me to my practices and stuff. He'd pick me up and take me, just drop me off, And it's like a couple months go by, and then right after season, I took 4th in the state that year, which was good. Like it's good, but
not according to your wife.
No,
not according to Marissa.
It wasn't. Like I was devastated though, because like Nino said, you pour your whole life into this thing, and like whenever you say put all your like eggs in one basket, like I did everything I could to win, and like I was running to the gym to work out. Like I would run from my mom's house to my brother's gym at the time, which was like a couple miles, to get a workout in, and then I'd run home, because like I didn't have someone to take me. And you
probably didn't like being at your mom's that much. You probably just wanted to keep working out, and you just wanted to keep working out.
If I get into a fight with my stepdad, I'd go for a run and like just clear my head, and it turned into like 5 miles. Like I just like I'm like 5 miles in, and I'm just like trying to clear my head because I just like I needed it, and it was therapy. But so anyways, 8th grade, the end of 8th grade, it's like summer. I go to Virginia Beach. I have a really good tournament. Actually, we win the whole thing. Nino and I were on the same team, which is a crazy national tournament. Like you win Virginia Beach as a team, like it's crazy. Yeah. So we win the whole thing. I come home, and not even kidding you, like maybe less than a week later, like I'm wrestling at practice with the guy who really took a special interest in me, Brad Trum. He was my private coach. The dude literally took me everywhere for nothing, literally for nothing. He just took an interest in me. I think he saw what was going on, and he's like, this dude has some potential, and I want to make sure he gets there. So I'm at practice with him, and he gets a phone call from my brother, and he's like, hey, take me off speaker. And I'm like, and it was cool. Like I just was like, that's normal. Him and my brother talk all the time. Well, then he takes me off speaker. He runs me over to my brother's house, and I get a shower, and shit.
Sorry, man.
No, it's good. It's good.
Sorry.
But yeah, no, I actually want to talk about this. So,
good.
But my sister comes in, Brittany. She's give me a second. But she's just distraught. Courtney comes in distraught. And I'm like, immediately I'm like, I thought, honestly, because my mom was in a worse, like, place kind of with, like, her situation. I didn't know, like, what my dad was doing. But, I find out my sister Brittany walked in and found him. And he was, unresponsive. So I'm like, dang, like, I don't know what to do. Kind of lost my stuff. I didn't know how to react. Next couple of days, I'm like, I don't know what to do. So I turned this into wrestling, like that's like everything to me. So I literally spent, like, I can't even explain to you how much time just, like, running, lifting. If I had a bad day, I would, like, just go to the wrestling room and do stance in motion, which Nino knows about stance in motion. It's, like, a hard thing you do for people that don't know wrestling. But I'd go and just do it. And I'd listen to songs and just drain myself. But next thing you know, like I'm jumping levels. Like he says about the God thing, like if God wasn't real, like I don't know where I'd be, because like I would have made some really different decisions, I feel like. But my dad was a very faithful man. He didn't have his stuff together, but like he made sure we did.
None of us do, man. None of us do.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Like we all have that hole.
Exactly.
Right?
And everyone struggles. Someone has a worse story than me out there. That's the thing. Like it's like, in my high school, I wouldn't take back for anything. So it was amazing. Like I literally had the best of friends, and I lived a great life. And I was fortunate enough to win 3 state titles in high school. Like long story short, I go on to be a freshman. I'm at the tournament. I'm not supposed to do this. Like I took third at regionals the week before. Like I wasn't supposed to win the tournament. And I remember being out there, I'm wrestling the kid who is ranked number 1 in the state. But I am like the kind of person who will not look at a bracket. So I had no clue who he was. This dude ends up being a couple-time All-American. But I beat him. And I had no reason to beat him. Like I shouldn't have won that match. And I walked off the mat and I'm just like, thank you. Like God, my dad, like he was there. I know it. Like I have no doubt in my mind. You know, and then from there forward, it was like wrestling is everything, and I'm going to put everything I have into this, and it's going to make me a successful person. And I'm not going to do, like, my kids won't see what I saw. And my nieces and nephews will definitely, like, I will give them everything I have to make sure that they're successful, you know. Then, you know, I get to college, and I meet this guy who I am so fortunate to have, because I went to UVA first, and it was a different scenario where the team wasn't as into it. Nothing against them. Like UVA it's an awesome place, and I think it's different there now, but like they weren't as into it, and I got homesick. Cause like,
I got a question before we get into college.
Yeah.
All right. So thanks for sharing that, man.
Dude,
like,
I know. And I hate crying.
No,
like,
listen, crying's good for the soul. No, it's good for the soul.
I know, but I just... Like,
Micky, it's good for the soul.
Everyone has a story.
No,
though,
listen,
right?
it's okay. That's your story. They can come on here and talk about their story if they want. That's your story. I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good for the soul. Listen, I try to cry once a day. I try to laugh a bunch, and I try to love a bunch.
Yeah. And
Jimmy Valvano. If you ever watched that speech, the SB speech,
yeah,
go Google Jimmy Valvano, man. He's a good Italian guy. But anyway, so your dad's dead. You have this Brad Strum. I've heard a little bit about Brad. And I know a little bit about what sports is like. You know, you got all these guys, all these other dads, right? You know, we hear about Nino's story, his dad and his brother, and like all these guys are around. Who are some of the people that like kind of filled that spot in of dad to you? Like
100%.
Who are some of those people throughout high school out in Derry and Lake Trobe?
I had so many people that really stepped up, you know. So Brad, I should touch on him a lot, only because like I still to this day, like if I need something, like he's the one I call. Like if I'm having a hard day and I need someone to talk to, he is the one I call. He just like, he'll drop everything to like come to me and do whatever I need. And like, not many people are like that, you know, especially without like expecting anything, you know, which is the craziest thing about it, is like what he did for me without expecting anything in return. It's like, that man is like an angel sent from heaven. Like, so I have to like seriously like really just like, you know, emphasize how much he's done. But then you have like all my club coaches and these guys who picked up the slack where I rode to practice with. Like my friends would go to practice, I was hopping in with them. And if I couldn't get a ride with them, I was hopping in a guy from the next town. And like, they're going out of their way to make sure I get there. And my mom, like, she had some troubles, but like, I feel like it was a wake up call for her. Like my dad passing, and she, you know, started to see life differently. Like, it was like, she went from like, you know, kind of always just like letting someone tell her what to do and like just abuse her, you know, in a lot of different ways, and to being like, hey, you know, like I want to like be there for.
She's got to step up, because now nobody else is there to step up for you. Like as far as a parent goes, right?
To the point that it's a fault. Like, you know, like my mom like would drain her bank account before.
Yeah, she's
like,
a sweetheart.
She doesn't realize like she like doesn't understand like financial, like, you know, like being financially smart. Instead, she's like buying me like hey, my washer's going out in the house. My mom's like, without me even saying, like, she's like delivering a washer in my house. And I'm like, Mom, you can't afford to be doing this.
Yeah.
Like, and I like call her and I'm like, thank you, but like, you can't afford this. Like, I can and I will make it happen, but you can't.
So were you able to go like to? Was there any like things that you weren't able to go to, or did people always step up?
Well, that's what I was
like,
gonna say. So my sister Brittany took me. So she took me to club practice. She took me to the whole way to Carnegie. That's like whenever I really started going to Pitbull. I went to Pitbull like as in middle school because Jimmy Goldbond. My school had a wrestling tradition, 4-time state champion. Like his dad was like, "Hey, hop in with us," and I went with him. Which also freshman year, his dad would pick me up before school and work out with me. So he stepped up. But my sister would take me to practices. She went out of her way, like at the time, to do whatever she could for us as a family. And then you had my sister Courtney, even like a senior in high school. Like she, at the time, which can you imagine, like losing your dad before you graduate, like especially like it was so, she really like, she was just always very supportive of me. And like, you know, like she was about me being like the popular kid, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like she's a senior, I'm a freshman. She's like, you know, this is what you got to do.
She's like your promoter.
Yeah, you know.
She's like trying to get you promoted up.
You
Yeah.
got your style.
Exactly, right? It is. It is. My sister's both, like you know, but
And then you met Marissa.
And Marissa has been, this is like
Marissa's his wife. He's already married. He's already has a house. This is all before he graduated. Well, I guess he
Crazy
graduated
story.
college probably a couple times. I don't even know how that works.
I have a couple degrees. But Marissa and I, we've been together since 8th grade, so she was with me through it all. I remember that night, like she still tells people the night I texted her and I was like, hey, it's going to be hard for me to talk. I mean, no, I said it's going to be hard for me to like answer you for the next couple of days. My dad just passed away. And she's just like, oh my gosh. Like she was one of the first people, obviously, I texted. I mean, I'm an 8th grader, so you text, you know how that goes.
I don't know. In 8th grade, I didn't have text.
Well, that was like, you know, communication.
I got you.
Then she was with me basically the whole way through. You know, we had our ups and downs, maybe me being a little bit of an idiot in high school, but like we have, like she's been there. She has been consistent. She has supported me. Like I go back for an extra year of college and she's like, do it. She's like, I want to win a national title. She wants me to win it more, you know, like, but then, so there's her and then my brothers. Like, so my brother Sean, he owned a gym. I said that.
Yeah.
I would go there a lot.
You could probably train there all the time, I bet, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I was in there. I would run from my mom's house to his gym.
He probably beat up on you a little bit too, right? I would assume like he had to be. Obviously, he's 11 years older than you. I mean, so like,
try, you know?
but just even to have to wrestle with older guys, right? Like that has to make you tougher, right?
There's this guy, Matty Patterson. Brittany probably told you about him. Matty, he did jujitsu, and I'd wrestle with Matty and do jujitsu with Matty and Dustin.
There should be Nino. Don't you think we should do like somehow like do like almost like a documentary, like to recreate like a movie of like how you came up through the ranks?
Yeah, it was crazy. I'm like doing jujitsu with like 30-year-old men as like an 8th grader, you know, trying to triangle choke them, you know, like, and I'm just like I can't, like I'm not tapping, you know, but you know, I had all of them.
But you were able to go to all. Were you able to go to all the camps? And
and like that's what I was gonna say. So then same thing with my brother Daniel. Like he stepped up. Like I can remember in college, even like my freshman year, like I just wanted to come home. I needed like mentally for someone to pick me up.
You just want a hug.
I was like, please, someone like bring me home because I was far away. And like I had this rough childhood, so like I have a very close connection to my family, so it was hard for me. And like I remember like Daniel at the time, like he was in a tough spot with everything, and he drove down and like picked me up and brought me back. Like and like. I don't know, like it's just like he's been there for me if I need someone to talk to. And then, but like I said, my brother Sean had this gym and the gym was awesome. And I went there and worked out and Brad trained me in there. And like, it was great, you know, it was really, really beneficial for me to have that and be able to like, I had a bus stop there, you know, and I'd get dropped off from the bus at the gym and it'd be like, you know, 3 o'clock, I'd do my, core class, I'd be in a yoga class, I'd be in a fitness class, like just like cross fitness class, and I'd wrestle.
Yeah, it's
like,
better than going home.
Yeah, exactly, right? And then I'd end up, Maddie would drop me off at home at like 9:30 at night when he finished up at the gym. Like, so like, cause he was the guy who would like open and close the gym. So Maddie would finish up and sometimes we go get ice cream, then he'd take me home. And he was like my big brother. Like I was running the track at Derry High School with him on my back. He's like 26 and I'm like 12 and he's like 160 pounds.
That's what I mean. I'm literally watching this like right now in my head. It's like a movie. I'm telling you, like it could be like part 1, part 2.
And then I had my friends, my best friend Stoney. That dude, he's been my rock the whole way through. Like all jokes aside, like still to this day, he needs something, I talk. he calls me, I got him. I got his back. I need something, same thing. And we wrestled together, which was so cool. Because, like, my best friend and I, you know, we're wrestling together, and then we're going to hang out with the chicks. You know, like, we're like, it's like great. And I'm still able to stay at his house whenever I want, because his parents were so close to me, and they really, really did like me. And it was like, so it was cool. I had a lot of people step up for me that I'm very fortunate. My club coaches, like, taking me to Young Guns. I started going there. They took me to Disney.
Probably fed you the whole time, right? Like, just like sleepovers, people, right? Like
it is true. Like, you know, like, if you're willing to, like, how can I say this? If you're willing to put yourself out there, like, people will, like, step
people want to help. People want to help.
And it's like, I feel like a lot of people are afraid of that. And I want to show kids that now. Like, I'm actually having, like, a really hard time with the fact that, like, my next step is probably going to be coaching in college wrestling, because I love kids so much.
Yeah, and they love you, man.
And what they did, like, what people have done for me, like, I don't know where I'd be, and I see these kids, and I'm like, I want to make sure you have the same opportunity, because Nino and I are so fortunate. We both have, like, no debt. We both have graduate school degrees. We both have experienced the country. Like, I mean,
who's traveled everywhere?
Who else has been to North Dakota and South Dakota? Like, you know what I mean? Like, we've been.
I mean, shoot, you just got back from
California.
Paris.
Yeah, I just got back from Paris. Like,
so here's two things that I've noticed in both of you guys' stories, and I appreciate you guys sharing both your stories, because, you know, they're different. But the one common thing I hear is, like, there was nothing else to do but wrestle. Yeah. Here's the thing now. Kids nowadays, though, okay, they don't, like, if they don't have a dad and a brother that was hyper focused on wrestling, right? Like, what if they don't, right? Yeah. What if they don't have a tragedy and tragic story like you to like run from? How do these kids get motivated? How do you find, how do these young kids now find purpose? Like, how do they do it? Because you guys... Like, that happened for you, like, on purpose.
That's God's plan. Like, we said that. That is God's plan. He said that, and I truthfully believe that. It's hard for me because in college, Nino and I, like, just to, like, people to understand that, like, it is God's plan. Like, I literally was, like, I clung to him, like, because then I get to college and I have this guy, you know, and, like, we're both at a cookout first day we get there, and, like,
did you guys both graduate high school at the same time, or you guys
1 year different?
So you're 1 year older?
Yeah.
Okay.
But his mom was there, and his mom's talking to Marissa. And Marissa, like, brings up the fact that I don't drink, you know? And she's like, Nino doesn't drink. And I'm like, everyone says that, but, like, we'll see. like, everyone says that, but we'll see. But then, like, him and I are walking to class together, and Nino, and I'm like, yeah, we're leaving the bookstore. And I'm like, Nino, what are you doing this weekend, you know? And he's like, I'm going home. And I was like, going home. I was like, because everyone else is like, hey,
partying.
This is like, the dancers are having guys over. You guys should come.
Well, it's like week at this point. Yes, so that's like the time, like before school. It's like everyone gets like,
And we both are like, no. And then we realized, like, real quickly, we're like, holy crap, like, neither of us want to, like, do that. So it's like,
because we're like kindred spirits.
So it turns into us working out together. Like, he's way bigger than me, obviously, but, like, it's like a Wednesday, we have off, him and I are in the wrestling room pushing each other to points that, like, I feel like a lot of people wouldn't go. Like I'm, like, hanging from a bar, and he's telling me to go longer because I'm in overtime in a match, you know? Like, and he's like, and I'm, like, looking at him like, shut the fuck up. I'm, like, trying to hang, and I'm like, but he's still saying it and pushing me through, and I'm doing the same thing to him, and, you know, next thing you know, like, the whole program has changed at Pitt, and I don't want to, like, claim like it was just us, but, like,
well, because you went to Virginia for a year, you mentioned that. We didn't have to talk about that, but that's how you guys ended up both coming into Pitt at the same time.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
So you had you had that practice year at Virginia, right? And then you really came back home, because that's where you should have been the whole time.
Yeah, well, Pitt, it was hard though, because Pitt wasn't what it was. Like, Nino knows.
I get it, but it's still in your backyard. But you also probably were like, shoot, dude, my life here in Pittsburgh, like, I want to go try. No, but you.
Yes, exactly.
But, like, you're like, but I can think of, like, oh, I just want to escape. I just want to go somewhere else. I want to, like, be around. I want to go try something new, right?
But what you don't realize is, like, when you do that, like, to some of these guys, it's like, sometimes family is the best thing you can have, and it's really the only thing you can have. Like, as you said before, it's like success comes. I think you said that when he was talking. Like, success is gonna come along the way, but there's this process, and, like, all these people have been there for me, and, like, I want to be there for them now, like, down the line. But yeah, sometimes I think you need to, like, step outside of your comfort zone to show them that there is more. Like, and that's what I'm probably gonna do next, you know, to show them like, hey, there's more to this, and you can do anything you want if you put your mind to it.
What's a muscle that you got to keep? Like, there's a door, but we don't know what's on the other side of the door. But like, you guys have already opened those doors so many different times in your life. It's a lot easier for you guys to go first through that door. That's one thing I've learned in my life. It's like we can be the leader, right, and go through that door on the unknown to be able to change and transform. Because at the end of the day, like, the story's not over.
No,
I get that you guys just finished your collegiate careers.
Oh, yeah.
But like, this is just one little chapter, right? And one day you're going to be 40 years old, sitting on the other side, and you guys have already overcame so much adversity, right? But you've also already all like learned so much, and you're at a place where now you can actually start teaching, right? Like, and you can start giving back, right? And you can also take more chances, right? And you can keep, going, blazing a trail, right? For the kids. But I want to know, okay, so you're thinking, listen, I just had a baby, right? And we're all going to have kids, you guys are going to have kids one day. And our kids, like, we're not going to give our kids, we're not going to make them go through the same pain.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
So how are they going to, like, how are they going to find, because you guys turned your pain into purpose.
Dude, yeah.
How are they, like, if they want to be a wrestler, if they want to be like Micky Phillippi, what are the kids out there that their dad's a doctor, their mom's a lawyer, they got like this great life, like money's not a problem, there's no adversity, and they want to be like Micky and Nino, and they want to be wrestlers at Pitt one day. Yeah. Where do they find it? How do they get that?
Yeah. Well, good. You can give your input.
Well, I feel like it's, I mean, everyone has their own story, right? Mm-hmm. He has his unique story. I have my story.
Yeah, you have a great story.
But it's the process of finding like your own why.
There you go.
I think it's and I was gonna say before, it's hard for, I think, a lot of guys, and I think that's why sometimes you see guys kind of steer off a path a little bit when they're like chasing their goal a little bit. Especially in wrestling. I mean, I can't really.
They fly in the middle sometimes. They never they don't go all the way off, but they don't ever like. It's like they just kind of like it's like almost like an indecision.
Right. Well, I feel like a lot of that stems from the hurt that might come from it. Like I feel like if you do commit to everything, you do commit to this sport of winning a national title or whatever it may be. If you're sacrificing everything, you're putting your eggs in one basket, like we've been saying. I think people sometimes have trouble doing that because they know. I mean, it doesn't always work out.
Could be some failure.
Yeah. So for you to do that and then for you to put everything into it and it's not work out, people try to avoid that hurt because it sucks. You know, so I think that's what keeps a lot of people.
Can you teach that though? Like when you guys are working with young kids, how do you find their why, right? Like if it's not obvious, right? How do you find their why? And then if they don't necessarily have a strong enough why, how do you try to get that out of them? And how do you motivate that into them? Is it possible?
Yeah, I try. Like I coach a lot of kids. Like I'm coaching kids tonight. I'll probably be with like 20 kids tonight. I always try to tell them, after practice, I always try to give them a little bit of something, I think a little bit of motivation, but I always tell them, I've had so many friends, who are doing great. Like my friends are actually doing very well, but I'm just saying I've had so many friends, so many, acquaintances that they always are like, I wish I woulda, and that's something that like, it sucks.
Like regret.
Yeah. It sucks to be like, to say like, I wish I would have, like I wish I could have if I just would have did this.
See this little Nike sign right here?
Yeah.
Just do it.
Just do it. And it's hard because like people, like he said, they're afraid of the failure or like they're afraid of not being cool. Like, you know how many times people thought I was crazy because I'm running on these back roads and like parents are driving by and they're like, whose parents let this kid do this?
You're jumping up and down a quicksand at Keystone.
It's like, and it's like, here's the thing, like you can't be afraid to be weird or different. Because if you want to be successful, the most successful people in this world, what have they done?
We're all freaks.
They're so different.
Yeah,
Their
we're all
mindsets
weirdos.
are crazy.
We're weirdos.
Like they take themselves to. That's why people chase these like morning cooled baths and like heat exhaustion and like they do this because they're a little crazy. Like there's a screw loose up there,
But it's a good crazy.
Yeah, and I try to tell these kids, I'm like, see these successful people, and what's the one thing they have in common? It's like they were willing to be different. Like
commit.
Yeah, and commit to it and live it, right? Like it's not just
not knowing it.
It's not like a lot of people say it. That's the thing.
Yeah, they know it. They know how to repeat it back out.
It's frustrating because there's a lot of fake.
Oh yeah.
We like especially in the sports world, like we see this. I'm not calling anyone out in particularly, but like when we first got to Pitt, like there was a lot of dudes who like they faked that they were doing the right things, and like. they weren't.
Well,
that shows eventually,
it's
though,
easy.
right?
It's easy to like either fake like work hard or fake being like wanting to do it for the 2 hour you're in a practice, or for that matter, I mean, I don't know if you, but I see a lot of guys who sometimes see what I'm doing and it inspires them a little bit, and they're like, oh, I'm gonna get on that, and it lasts like 2 weeks. Then
it's like a fad. It's like a fad, right?
Because it's just like they're not. It's just not.
It's not ingrained in them. It's not burning. It's like not. It's there's a burning pit inside you somewhere.
Well, I
right?
think
You're not gonna You're not gonna do that if it's not like your driving, factor. And that was something like my dad used to tell me and my brother. Like,
oh yeah,
they would say like, I want you to go through life and you have no regrets about. You don't want to go through your college career and be like, oh, I wish I would have.
Go all
I wish
in.
I would have worked a little hard. You never want to have that feeling because that's something that will bother you.
I feel like something that people do is like they like kind of how he said. Well, they're afraid to commit, but also it's like you can never be satisfied. But also being in that, like, so my relationship with my faith is something that, like, similar to Nino, like, I take very seriously. And I am very, like, that has brought me to the point with, like, in life, I'm a happy guy,
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm in a happy place. But there's a difference between that and then becoming, like, complacent. And I think so many people become complacent, like, okay, you get D1. Okay, now I'm D1. Like, awesome. Like, I'm just, dude, I can hang out with all the good girls. You're gonna be like, dude, you're D1. Like, it's like, that's what they like think.
And when you're 40, then that matters.
Yeah, and that's the thing they don't realize, right? And it's like, and even if you win a national title, Keith would tell us this. Like, Keith's like, when you win nationals, he's like, you're not gonna be like, hey, I did it. Like, that's it. Like, now you're gonna chase the next thing.
He would tell me that, like, before I like made the finals the first time, he was like, wrestling, it's like, just in life, he's like, it's one of those things where it's like, you're gonna do it and you're going to be like, oh, I want more. But at the time, I didn't do it yet. So I'm like, well, I think I'll be okay if I get that. I'll be pretty happy.
But
then you do it and you're like, I do want to win. It's like there is always something that you like striving for. But that was something that I also like talk about my faith that I kind of learned, and it kind of keeps me at peace, and like something that guys could maybe pick up. Like, you're only going to feel satisfied with like God's love, right? So like, everything in like is materialistic. Like, you want a job or you get this certain amount of money, you want more money. You win a national title, you want to win 2, 3. There's always going to be something, but like God's love is infinite, right? And it says in the and then there's like quote, but if you put all your faith into Him, you'll never feel
empty
because He has infinite. So you'll always feel infinite, and I think that's something that people can feel like when they're trained. They're like, like. Their just head's not like on the right thing. Like, they're worried about like, I have to get through this practice. I'll be fine. Oh, I gotta do it.
Well, if we're always chasing the next thing,
right,
or like the next object, right? Like,
you'll never feel satisfied.
Like it's like a mountain, right? You get to the top of the mountain, it's like, oh, but if you actually, it's not really a mountain. Like, you start to create your own next mountain, right? And you start to climb back up that, look over that.
There'll never be anything except the only thing is
I was gonna say,
love.
I don't know if this is like off topic, but so you met this guy before Meech. You met Meech. So Meech is actually someone who, like, for me in college, like, I looked at and he was like very open about his faith, and I was like, that's really cool. But like almost I was like nervous about it,
Yeah. What are people gonna say about me? I mean? If I start going around talking about God and Jesus all the time, like some of the jocks aren't gonna like, know.
Well, he'd always say, like, he's like, like, he started wrestling way later than us, so like he's very ignorant to like some of like the like, this kid's really good, or like some of even the moves and stuff. Like, so he would always just be like, I just wrestle for the glory of God and the light of God. Like, he's like, I do everything I do to be in the light of God. And like that for me, I will say, just like starting to live a life that way has, in my opinion, just like made everything else in my life so much better.
So much better.
I'm so
glad that you get to experience that at, like, how old are you?
26, yeah.
Man, yeah. I just started feeling that guy, and like over the last couple of years, it was really after I met your sister. I'm not kidding you. I don't know, something about like, and I've always had Jesus in my heart since the age of 7, but then the world will beat you up, right? And sometimes you can get away from that, but it's like learning to be okay with yourself, right? Learning who your true self is. Yeah. This is what I've learned. Learning who your true self is, taking your pain, turning it into purpose, and then making an impact versus like income. Because like when you can make an impact, like that's infinite. Like there's no end. There's no end to making an impact, whether it's the kids that you're trying to teach, whether it's people at your workplace, whether it's your family, whether it's 10 years from now and your career. Like if you always look at things like, hey, I'm making an impact, I'm serving, right? Like I'm serving, I'm making an impact. There's no finish line.
Yeah.
And like, but you can always feel good every day. It's kind of like going to practice every day. Yeah. It's like, that's where you can get your fuel from. It does. Yeah. Cool. Getting the trophy's nice, right? I'm sure, man, I feel good, right? Like it was a rush, but it's a rush for like a little bit. Yeah. And as every day that comes past that, then putting, the trophy on you, it starts to comes down a little bit. Comes down a little. Now we talk about a little. You get a little dopamine hit, but it's not. But like when you go to do whatever you're going to do after this podcast, or when you wake up in the morning, or when you start your new career, like it's going to be those inputs, right? And those inputs to me, and again, you guys are talking about it. And you guys are talking about it in your 20s, which I love. It's like, like that's where the fuel comes. It's like, but everybody's waiting for like the goal or the expectation. And when they get there, they're severely, like, usually disappointed because at the end, it's like, this is all there is. Yeah. Like, I mean, we've all achieved stuff. Yeah. Every single person's achieved something. Yeah. And then they realize that still doesn't fulfill them. No. Yeah. Yeah. So that's.
I also think, I mean, you said, how do you make these kids, that was like how this started. Like, how do you pass? Yeah. Because I really want to know, like, how, like, because there's a bunch of kids, like my Sammy, for instance, like he's in all these sports. He's not going to go through the same pain I did. I don't even know how to almost inflict pain. I'm trying to figure out, like, how do you get him, like, rah! Like, he's just like, he's such a sweet, nice kid. Yeah. Like, I feel like you have to make the kid also realize, which it's hard to do, that like I don't want I don't know how to say this. So you have to make them realize that like there is so much more to this, like you have to find a way to make them realize that. Like for instance, my nephew Mason, I talk about this all the time. Like he's a beast. Like he is a beast. He does. Yeah, everything he does, and I'm super proud of him.
It's like he's got a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah, I'm super proud of him. But it's like he's playing football and like he's good at that too. He's a beast. He goes out there. He could be starting quarterback as a freshman. But sometimes
he's better than you at flag football. I'm telling you, when we play football, at the Turkey Bowl, we always put you two on each other. We always put you two on each other.
Not happening.
I don't know, man. I take Mason. Mason, if you're watching, you're on my team this Thanksgiving.
I won't let him ever get credit for beating me at anything.
Can we get Nino to come to that Turkey Bowl?
I'd love to. Come on, man. Lock down Mason, man. But no, he's really good at everything, and like it is hard to see though, like for some people, like I don't mean to put other people down, but like some people are like so excited about the fact that he could be the quarterback as a freshman that they don't realize that like like it's like that is the goal almost. It's like, wow, like he's gonna do that, like that's so good, like. But it's like, how many people do you know that like that's like the biggest thing to them, right? And then like, what do they do with their life?
When it's usually like, other people too that are putting that on them.
Yes, exactly. Right? And they're not. I don't think people.
They don't do it on purpose. No, they're excited.
He has a good head on his shoulder. Don't get me wrong. And he's all about everything. Like the kid goes to baseball, he's hitting home runs. He goes to football, he's scoring touchdowns. He's wrestling. He wins the state
title. Tell me about what he's doing in practice, though, because those are just outcomes. Like, what's the kid doing to get to those outcomes?
He has this mindset, I'll tell you, like him in particular, and a lot of kids have it in the room, where, like, like, he does it, like, for instance, we went on a run over the weekend. I had kids with me, and I know he didn't want to go on this run. And he was, like, so ready to just be, like, like, in the back, like, yeah, screw this, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He was with me the entire time in the front. And after the run, he's like, I don't even know why I was, like, with you. But it's, like, they're not okay with not giving their all.
Well, here's the other thing. Not okay, you got to tell them that kids are watching him. Yeah, he's a leader, so kids are going to be watching him. And if he starts to slack off, that means they're going to be able to slack off, right?
There's a lot of kids, like the kids I work with on a daily basis, like they're awesome, man. Like I don't know what their parents, like how their parents treat them at home, like what they do, but these kids, they really do. Like I've seen kids who don't, like they don't have it in them.
They have discipline and accountability already built in.
Yeah, like
where you may have had to like kind of figure it out a little bit.
Exactly. And
but now that you figured it out, now you have other kids. If you're the second generation, like your kids are going to have discipline probably built in from the beginning a little bit, and then like.
Well, I remember going to Pitbull and Jimmy Goldbaum would shake the coach's hand after every practice. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And that instilled in us, we still to this day, I mean, well, now we're going to end up coaches, but like we shake the coach's hand before you walk out of the room. Like it's like the little things. Yeah. It's these little tiny things that like, they make such a difference. Like it just shows the character of you and like it takes you further than like it. It is hard to explain, and it's hard to like just like say one thing because every kid is different.
Yeah.
Every person is different, and some kids might need less. Like just to be 100% honest, like there's kids that I know that like they need less, or if they do too much, they don't do that well.
Right.
But then there's kids that like they want to run through that wall and run through it again and again and again and again. So it's not easy. Like it's hard to just like I couldn't like
coaching is
I couldn't
is
just
not
pin one
coaching.
thing,
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, there's like the group coaching, but then the one-on-one's really important. So here's what I want to do. I want to talk about what do you guys think the future holds for you guys? Because like I know you guys are still young. Shoot, I don't even know what the future holds for me, but I'd like to talk about like what you visualize 10 years from now. So like think about 10 years from now. Think about when you're let's just think about when you're 40 even. Yeah. Like what kind of life do you want to be living? Where like what kind of work do you want to be doing? What kind of impact do you want to be making? I want to hear from that. Let's go with you first.
Okay, I'll go first. I definitely want to impact people. Like I want to use what I've done to be able to show like how I've said with kids and show them like, hey, you can do more. And so short term, I'm gonna coach, and that's
where are you going? Tell everybody where you're going.
I'm heading to Brown, up Ivy League school, great school. Really can't do much better education wise, but also they're putting a huge emphasis on athletics right now, and it's an awesome place to be. I was just up there literally 2 days ago. From the donors I met to the coaches to the athletic administration that I met, I just think they really are trying to do something there, and I see big things coming.
How long? Like, I don't know anything about wrestling sports, and like, do you sign a contract? Are you there for 1 year, 3 years? Like, can you be there just as a year to year based
like
on
a year to year thing?
Gotcha. So I was gonna say, if you're a kid right now and you want to go to Brown, that's your guy.
I got you. Yeah. So that's short term, but like in this time period, I mean, I already own one house and I'm renting it out when I move up there. I do want to accumulate properties, and that's something I would love to do, because I look at like, I like am a big like watching podcasts and like what we're doing like watching what we're doing right now and like motivational like just people, and I see that like a lot of the most wealthy people, they own property. So I do want to do that, and then I want to be able to like kind of teach my kid that, and like I don't know a lot. Like I'm here picking guys' brains. Yesterday I was on the phone with a guy who's in real estate that owns like 1,000 properties, and I'm just like, well, he manages 1,000, owns like 100 or something like that.
Yeah.
But and I'm just picking his
You're
brain.
a sponge.
Yeah, I'm over here being a sponge, taking it in, so that in 10 years from now, I can be at a place financially that I can set my kids up, right? I mean,
how about this? Let's trade. How about you teach my kids how discipline and consistency, and I'll keep getting all the business knowledge as much as I can. I'll keep trying to like, we'll keep trading. That way, our kids, when they'll grow up together. Because I mean, listen, all the kids, man, all your nieces, your nephews, like everyone in Latrobe and Derry, and even here in Pittsburgh, like they're all watching you. You know that, right? Like you're a big deal, Micky Phillippi. I hear your name. I'm in the stands sometimes, and they don't even have any idea who I am. And they'll be like, "Oh yeah, when I was at Mason's, that's Micky Phillippi's nephew." Like you're like, it's like they talk about you like you're a folklore. It's like almost like they talk about you like you're dead or something. Like, yeah, that's that Micky Phillippi. Remember him? Like I'm like, holy cow, man! Like that's like huge, man.
Yeah, I mean, I try to just be a good person, and. The other thing that's big, like I said, he said the faith thing, and if we're going to get on it and we're going to be open about it, like that's something I continually want to grow.
That's awesome.
So if I can keep growing that, I see everything else working out in my favor. But I really don't know. Like I couldn't tell you where I'll be as geographically.
Okay. Yeah, no, listen, that's okay.
I always thought I'd live here, like, and I never thought I'd leave. And right now I am going to take a step to move. And it's
how's Marissa feel about that?
She's nervous, but she's excited. She's super
Marissa's
supportive.
always nervous.
Yeah, she's anxious about everything. Today she's anxious about going to prom pictures for Micah. It's like, dude, you just show up and take a picture. Like, we're good.
Yeah.
But she's always anxious. Nino knows. Nino's very close with Marissa, too, actually. We've, it was like us in a love triangle throughout college. No joke. It's me, Nino, and Marissa going on dates all the time. But yeah, no. So I want my faith to grow, and then, I want to give back, and then hopefully... I see my nephews and nieces going to school, and it's not the thing that I think people get confused.
Can you give me a discount if you're still in college? Like, will I be able to get like? Will Evie be able to like get a family discount on college?
Hey, I don't know. I know that your kids do, like your own kids.
Yeah, your own kids, but maybe,
it's like I want it. Like it's not only in wrestling. I think that's the thing that people get wrong. Like it's like. It may not have been wrestling. Like, I don't know what it'll be. I just want you to.
Could have been hoops. You could have done it in hoops.
Exactly. Well, I want.
Nah, you're too short for hoops.
I want these guys to be able to just be like, I can do whatever I want to do. Like,
there you go.
It's that simple.
That's
and at the end of the day,
it really
is.
Inspire people, man. You can like. I mean, I never thought I would have ever been a business owner. I didn't even know what that looked like. You know,
but now
when I was a kid. All right, what about you, buddy?
Yeah. Well, similar.
What's the future hold for Nino? Short term and long term.
You know, I would like to get into coaching as well. I'd like to compete a little bit too, I think.
What's that? How do you compete after college?
So
like, can you go to like the Olympics or something?
Yeah, like you strive to like make the Olympics or world championships.
Is there still club things that you can do? Or like
there's like you could wrestle for like Pittsburgh Wrestling Club or like you can like train there, but like the only thing you're now trying to do is your next goal is like to win the Olympics, so that you have to make the Olympic team and make the world like
trying to get this guy on Team Italy here.
Yeah. Team what?
No, I'm making a joke.
Wow, like you could obviously I wrestle for Team USA, but there's guys who it's obviously it's difficult to make the Team USA World Team or Olympic team, but there is guys in the United States.
You just won the national championship, so you at least have to be one of the best at 197 right now. I mean, I'm sure the Olympics are the same type of weight things, right? But the problem is they probably have a 5 or 10 year stretch of guys that can all whistle in that weight class.
Yeah,
so now you have like 10 national champions.
It's definitely a step up. It's not,
it's more of the elite, right? But some guys probably fall off because they don't want to wrestle the rest of their life, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, exactly. But it's one of those things where it's again,
is there money in the wrestling? I mean, can like these Olympic? Can they make money? Like it's not like football and basketball though, right?
Yeah, there is now because
I don't know. It depends.
It used to be wrestling like back like when our coach was in trying to make the teams as well. It wasn't very like and even now it's not something you can make.
Are you gonna have to pay your own way like if you go to the Olympics, or will you get sponsors?
So you can get sponsors, but then if you make certain teams like the national like top 3,
like
people get paid a little bit. I mean, it's nothing like to where you'll get like
unless
you could be set
unless you
forever.
end up like Jordan Burroughs or something.
Yeah, I mean there's like our top guys make like tons of money.
How many years will like if you go down this path of like trying to chase like an Olympic gold, like how long could that last? Like how I mean
it's as long as you really.
I know,
want.
but like who's the oldest guy in wrestling that like won a like,
I was just saying Jordan Burroughs has won multiple. Like he's the GOAT.
He's
right
like
now.
36.
Oh, so like you can just go that old. Like I don't know, man. I have no idea. Like I know Michael Phelps was in the water like in his probably early 30s, but like I know that there's a ceiling for some guys. It's I don't know. Every sport's different.
Yeah, it's as long as you make it really, and it's one of those things where it's like
got that old man.
You're almost back to like freshman year of college. Like your goal is to be, you want to make the championship and you kind of work toward that. But it's like one of those things where it's like, that's ingrained in me to strive for that next best thing. So, so I'd like to obviously do that.
Can you do that while you coach? Or
you can. So, you could kind of do a little bit of both, obviously.
Because like if you were, I mean, do you have any job offers, or you?
Yeah. I'm still kind of in the process.
You haven't like decided.
Yeah, I mean, I'm ideally like to stay at Pitt.
We can't like release anything new, fresh alpha on the podcast yet. Like,
no, but it's just like it's one of those things where I was told by just some coaches and just like if you're gonna be I don't know it changes of obviously who you are and what your role is, but I think if you're gonna commit to like an assistant role, you're gonna be like a head assistant coach or head coach, your time is pretty occupied running your team, right?
Yeah.
So and obviously wrestling at that level requires a certain amount of like time to yourself. You have to work out, you got to do your own, you almost don't have time for your to do all the stuff behind the scenes, right?
Right, yeah.
So
the marketing side of things,
right,
get
just
yourself
like
out there,
recruiting, going on trips, like you might, there's just a different.
Wrestling is very selfish. Every sport's very selfish, and like I think that's what you're trying to say. It's like if you want to chase that, it's almost like it's hard to be like a full time.
So you almost have to be like the fifth assistant on the Pitt team, kind of be the face, help with recruiting a little bit, but still pursue your gold medal dreams at the same time.
It's hard to be a full time coach.
Yeah, because you can't give to the kids as much, right?
At this level, you can't.
But people want to be Nino, and people want to come to Pitt because of Nino. I guarantee you that.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously,
same thing. Like there's kids up that you're going to be able to recruit, like that are going to come to Brown because of you.
Yeah. So obviously, I'll be in a role where I'm still helping with the team and everything, but I also have some freedom to where I can also train and what's nice too is my training. I'm wrestling, so in a way, it's like I'm still helping the team.
Yeah, you're still in the sport.
These guys got me to where I am today. So so that's obviously it's however long. I'd like to kind of stay in this role where I'm helping the team, but I'm also kind of pursuing some like international aspirations.
You still gonna stay in Bethel?
I'm living here now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but again, coaching is one of those things where sometimes if you want to advance your career, you have to kind of move around a little bit. You have to. There's only so many.
Bethel's gonna be sad whenever you move. You know that, right? Like, you're a legend here, buddy.
Yeah. It's only so many spots available. So
Providence are really nice.
That's cool.
But so
what about us? Let's take outside of wrestling. Does anybody have any goals or any dreams of I wonder what it'd be like to have this type of career?
Yeah.
So let's dream a little bit for a second.
Yeah.
Like if wrestling's off the table, you don't even know how to wrestle anymore. Okay.
Yeah.
What would you want to be?
Well, yeah, I get a lot of, and I talk a little bit about sales, some form of
sales. Sales is the best.
Med sales, there's a lot of that.
Sales is the best.
And I think
I got all kinds of sales books around.
I'm sure. Yeah, Gary V probably knows one.
I got Sell or Be Sold right here.
Yeah.
Here's a book I'll give you. There you go.
Okay, cool.
There you go. I got some sales books over there.
Cardone, yeah. But it's one of those things where, if you pursue it, and wrestling's I feel like wrestling and sales are very
influence.
Similar.
You got discipline and influence.
It's competitive. You're trying to hustle, and that's all I know.
But you're trying to help people. But with coaching is helping people. So helping people's sales. You're trying to help somebody make a smart decision. Right. There's so many things that I take away from my career in sales, and then on the leadership now. Yeah. And I'm not really selling. I'm not selling roof jobs anymore. But I'm selling. Maybe your friends to come work here, right?
Right.
I'm maybe selling a vendor on why they should lower their price to help my company, right? I'm selling dreams.
Right.
Yeah. And I feel like it's as an athlete, you're always chasing, right? We're always chasing something. So with something, cause I also agree sales, and it's if I don't know, what's the quota or whatever, it's I'm going to chase whatever the best guy's doing. It's not okay. In athletics, if you are serious about it, you're not okay with being mediocre. You're not okay with just meeting it. You're exceeding it.
Can you guys send some friends over here, man? We always got sales positions open. Well, that's cool, man. Well, I can't wait to follow you guys' career. People want to find out more about you. What's the best place on social media to follow you? Are you on Instagram?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram.
All right, we'll put out. Yeah, we'll put out
_Phillippi.
Yeah, we'll put that. We'll put it in the show notes. But here's at the end of every. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you guys wish I would have asked you, or anything else that you want to say before we wrap this show up?
I don't think. Do you have anything?
I think
this was fun.
Yeah,
seriously,
really cool.
We gotta do it again.
Yeah, all right.
I love that having the just to share stories. Sometimes it's I don't know. A lot of fresh in people's heads about when we're in 15 years they might. I don't know.
They're not gonna. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, well, it's cool to leave a mark right now. Boom. See what happens in 5 to 10 years.
Right.
Helps everybody hold accountable. Right. When you put it out there more. Right. It just keeps snowballing,
right?
So here's one thing that I do at the end of every show. So I ask every guest 5 questions, and I'm going to do it to you guys together, so we'll just do one at a time. But there's nobody else on planet Earth. You're going to be on your own little island by yourself, okay? You can take one book with you. What book do you take with you?
Is this the first question?
Yeah, that's the first question.
Okay. I'm going to take the Bible.
What about you?
I was actually gonna say.
Okay,
that. You stole that.
That's right. Hold on, I'm gonna rotate. But what book would you take? It's okay if it's the same answer. But if you have another book, pick another book. That's fine.
No, I feel like my reason for that though is because there's actual stories in it too.
Sure.
Plus life lessons.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like it
That's the
teaches
most
everything.
common answer on my podcast.
Yeah.
We're like 70 some episodes in. I don't even know what episodes.
Yeah.
So don't. If it's not right, I don't worry about it.
hoping
But the Bible is probably answered by like 25% of the guests.
But yeah.
What's
I would
another
say
book that you like though that you would take?
that I would take with me?
Yeah, like if you could only take one other book with you, what book would it be? You probably only been reading school books.
Yeah,
When you get to my age, you start reading other books,
I know.
right?
We just started though. Like you read that
You
book.
want me to- you want me-
yeah, go ahead. You read that book over the summer. I just read a book, but
I'll
it was
give-
more about marriage.
So
that's-
I like this book called it's by Stephen King, The Long Walk.
Oh wow, that's a
thought
little dark.
I think
probably.
it's cool because it's
Yeah.
like it's a matter of like it's kind of like will. It's like a bit
All right,
fight
cool.
of will. I don't know.
All right, so here's the next question. This will be a little bit better one. I'll let you go first, okay? That way he can't copy you. Well, if he does copy you, he copies you. What movie are you taking with you? One movie.
Oh, that's a really good question. Because my favorite movie of all time, which is like, I'm not gonna pick this one, is Lion King, and it's only because it's very nostalgic, very nostalgic.
Yeah, you know me. You know me and Evie watched Lion King with Sam.
Oh really?
Oh, yeah.
That movie's so good. But if I could take one movie with me,
There's one right answer to this.
oh gosh, you already have it. Yeah. I don't even know. I need something.
What movie can you watch over and over again that you would always like feel like it would be like entertain you?
Oh gosh.
What's wrong with Lion King?
I guess.
All right, Lion King. Yeah, no, Lion King. Go ahead. What's your movie?
Sandlot.
Sandlot. Yeah, that's a good one. All right, so and we'll let you go first in this next one.
Okay.
You got to eat, right? So you can put one restaurant on your island. You guys traveled all over the country. You also live in Pittsburgh. It can be something
I know mine.
that only you know about or something famous. What restaurant you putting on your island?
He thinks he knows what I'm going to pick.
I know which mine.
but I'm
mine
going to
is.
change it.
Now, this is for you personally.
Yeah.
You just say
He's
whatever's
not
on your
gonna
heart.
say mine, so I'm just gonna say it. Pusadis Garden. He hates Thai food, so he won't say it.
Where's that at?
It's in Lawrence.
Oh, is that place in Lawrenceville that's got all the weird stuff on
Yeah.
it? It was good.
Phenomenal.
It's got man, I can barely read the menu though.
Oh, it's so good. Like
Yeah, I went there once. Did I go there with you, or did Brittany must have took
I
me
think
there?
Brittany took you there.
Yeah.
It has. Oh, that place is so good.
All right.
That's my go.
See, I like Nikki's Thai Kitchen. I mean, I'm good enough with the Thai.
Thai, right?
Yeah.
Saying,
All right, what restaurant you
Thai,
putting?
I'm probably going to go Piccolo Forno, I'd say.
All right.
Italian restaurant.
Where's
I gotta
that
go
at?
Italian. Is that like Shady Side?
And that's also like Lawrenceville. It's like on the
Lawrenceville,
far. It's on the
You
closest.
guys are
end of the-
yuppies.
Yeah.
What happened to you guys? Hanging out with Pitt too much.
I know.
All right. So that was that. Okay. You're allowed to go anywhere in the world. Okay, for 1 week. It could be somewhere you've been that you really love, or somewhere you really wanted to go. 1 week. Where are you gonna go?
Who's up first?
I'd like. Okay, you can go. I actually answered the last one first.
I have such a weird one.
Go ahead. Just say it.
I'm just gonna go off the wall just to be different. I'd probably go to not now, but I would. Dagestan, Russia.
Dagestan, Russia. Okay,
Yeah.
where's that at?
So that's
That's like the wrestling.
That's in like the heart of Russia, which now it's like I don't even.
Is that like
Yeah.
is that like close to Moscow?
It's like but it's on the way.
How do you even know about this place?
It's like
That's
a
the
hotbed
wrestling,
for like
yeah.
wrestling.
Oh, those
And
big
there's,
meathead, those
like
big
all the
bullies.
like all
If
the
you could
great
go
wrestlers
anywhere
from
in the
Russia.
world,
So why do you want to just go there?
I want to go and train and see just
the training would be cool.
just the train. And
Just so
to
you
see
know,
them,
there's not going to be anybody around. So
Yeah,
you're like it's just an
outside
empty
of the
row.
wrestling.
I think it'd be cool to like train on the mountains, Rocky
All right, cool. So
style.
you would just go there and work out.
Yeah, I
All right,
think that'd
cool.
be
Where are
cool.
you going to go?
I'm trying to go to like what's that coast in Italy?
The Amalfi Coast?
Yeah, that's what I'm about. I'm trying to do something like that.
All
Give me
right.
like
So you wanna go to
like
Amalfi
Greece.
Coast?
Let's go to like Greece.
All right, so here's going to be, this is always the toughest question.
Okay.
You get 24 hours. You can summons one person to spend 24 hours with. Past, present, could be somebody you know, could be a famous person, could be somebody you've always wanted to meet. You can pick their brain. You only have 24 hours to spend with them. Who's it going to be?
I'll just go. That's easy. That's to me, my dad.
Yeah.
But just because, like, I would like to go back to, like, I feel like that's such an easy answer, but it's like
For you, it might be,
it's
yeah.
been so many years, and it's like so much time has passed.
Yeah,
and,
you
like,
just want to like tell them all the things you've been doing,
Yeah, and
ask
I-
them even more questions.
And I just want to be like, dude, like how you said to your dad, like we did it. Like I want to be like, dude, we did it, and like just like talk it out,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like just
Just so you know, your dad knows that you did it.
Yeah, I know he knows. I know he's here. He's watching me right now.
Yeah.
But I just like I don't know. I would love
That's cool,
to just
man.
sit
That's
down and
great.
just have this
That's
conversation.
great.
you know?
Yeah.
I'd probably pick my my grandpa, Pep. John.
Okay.
Pappy Jack.
Why?
Well, he was one of my. He was almost like our godfather.
Is he
of
still
our family.
alive?
No. He
Okay.
passed, yeah.
They're extremely Italian.
He was almost like our godfather. I
think you can tell.
Yeah. He was like he was like our rock like in our family. So like, he passed before when I was heading into like a little before I headed into college, and you know, he was one of those who was like giving us workouts, and like, you know, he was very special. So to kind of go back and pick his brain, because he's very he has some great stories, but to also tell him, like, you know, make you say like, we did it, like it was kind of, you know, worth it. The Bonaccorsi's got a champ, and I don't know, I think that'd be cool. And of course, like you guys, he knows, but just
that's awesome.
person.
The Boners, man.
Well, listen, I really appreciate you guys both sharing some stories today. It was really great, especially get to know you a little bit better, get to hear some stuff about you that I actually never even, you know, so some of those things I never got to hear. And for everyone listening, because I know a lot of people are going to listen to this podcast because these guys have big audiences, like, follow, subscribe. And if you want to hear more stories, again, I've not had one wrestling podcast. So if you're a diehard wrestler, don't listen to this podcast for wrestling, but listen for stories of overcoming adversity, transforming your life, journeys through life that I think everybody can take a part of. Everybody can learn a little bit from everybody. And appreciate you guys being here, and tune in for another episode of the Big Fish Cares podcast. Drops every Friday.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the Big Fish Cares podcast.